Welcome back, dear viewers, to another spine-tingling episode of Most Haunted Places. In this sixth installment, we set sail into the shadowy waters of the East Coast, where towering lighthouses stand sentinel against the relentless tides. These iconic structures, once guiding mariners to safety, now harbor secrets darker than the storms they weathered. From ghostly keepers still tending their eternal watch to tragic lovers lost to the sea, the haunted lighthouses of the East Coast are steeped in tales that blur the line between history and horror. Lighthouses have long been symbols of hope, resilience, and human ingenuity, yet beneath their stoic exteriors lie stories of isolation, madness, and death. Built to withstand the fiercest tempests, these stone and iron sentinels bear witness to countless tragedies, shipwrecks, drownings, and the crushing solitude of those tasked with maintaining their beacons. Over time, whispers of the supernatural have emerged from their windswept cliffs and shadowy interiors, transforming them into some of the most haunted places in America. In this episode, we'll journey to 6 of the most infamous haunted lighthouses along the eastern seaboard. From the rocky shores of Maine to the sandy beaches of Florida, these spectral sanctuaries offer encounters that defy logic and chill the soul. We'll hear first-hand accounts from witnesses brave enough to confront the unknown, examine chilling evidence captured by paranormal investigators, and unravel the tragic histories that give rise to these hauntings. Whether it's the mournful cries of sailors lost at sea or the restless spirits of keepers who met untimely ends, each lighthouse holds its own dark legacy waiting to be uncovered. So dim the lights, keep your ears sharp, and prepare yourself for a descent into the macabre. As we step into the haunted heart of these maritime monuments, remember, sometimes, the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil, and once you cross it, there's no turning back. The Portland Head Light, a beacon of tragedy perched majestically atop the rugged cliffs of Cape Elizabeth, Maine, the Portland Head Light stands as one of the oldest and most iconic lighthouses in the United States. Commissioned by George Washington himself in 1791, this historic beacon has guided countless ships through the treacherous waters of Casco Bay. Yet, for all its beauty and significance, the Portland Head Light is also home to a haunting legacy that spans centuries, a tale woven with shipwrecks, suicides, and spectral apparitions that refuse to fade into oblivion. One of the most enduring legends tied to the Portland Head Light revolves around the ill-fated wreck of the Annie C. Maguire in 1886. On Christmas Eve, the vessel struck the rocks just offshore despite clear visibility and calm seas. Miraculously, all aboard survived thanks to the quick actions of keeper Joshua Strout and his family, who used a ladder to rescue the stranded crew. However, local lore suggests that not all souls were saved that fateful night. Visitors to the lighthouse often report hearing faint cries echoing from the shoreline, accompanied by the sound of splintering wood and crashing waves. Some claim to see ghostly figures struggling in the surf, their faces obscured by mist, while others describe an overwhelming sense of sorrow permeating the area. Another prominent figure in the lighthouse's haunted lore is believed to be keeper Joshua Strout himself, or perhaps his spirit. Strout served as keeper for over 4 decades, dedicating his life to maintaining the light and ensuring safe passage for mariners. His devotion, however, came at great personal cost. Historical records indicate that he suffered bouts of depression brought on by the isolation and grueling demands of his role. After his death in 1904, strange occurrences began to plague the lighthouse. Staff members reported seeing a man dressed in period attire pacing anxiously near the lantern room, muttering under his breath before vanishing without explanation. Others described feeling an icy draft pass through them, as though someone were walking close behind. Adding to the lighthouse's eerie reputation is the story of Abigail, a young woman who fell victim to unrequited love during the mid-19th century. According to legend, Abigail was deeply infatuated with a sailor who frequented the nearby port. When her affections went unreturned, she took her own life by leaping from the cliffs near the lighthouse. Her tragic end left an indelible mark on the site, with many visitors claiming to encounter her ghostly presence. Guests recount seeing a pale figure clad in white standing precariously on the edge of the cliffs, gazing out to sea. Others describe hearing soft sobbing carried by the wind, accompanied by the faint rustling of fabric as though someone were moving invisibly among them. Paranormal investigators exploring the Portland Head Light have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. Thermal cameras reveal significant temperature drops in specific areas, particularly near the lantern room and the cliffside where Abigail allegedly perished. Electromagnetic field (EMF) meters register unusual spikes, especially around objects associated with past tragedies, such as the old rescue ladder used during the Annie C. Maguire incident. Audio recordings capture fragmented phrases like "help me" and "stay away," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a translucent figure standing motionless at the base of the tower before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted allure, the Portland Head Light remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely strolls. For those brave enough to visit after dark, the promise of encountering Keeper Strout, Abigail, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the grounds, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the Lighthouse's macabre legacy? The St. Augustine Lighthouse. Shadows of the ancient city nestled amidst the cobblestone streets and Spanish colonial architecture of St. Augustine, Florida. The St. Augustine Lighthouse rises like a sentinel above the marshlands, casting its beam across the Matanzas Bay. Built in 1874 to replace an earlier wooden structure destroyed by fire, this imposing brick tower has stood guard over the nation's oldest city for nearly a century and a half. Beneath its grandeur lies a haunting legacy steeped in tragedy, folklore, and the supernatural, a tapestry of ghostly tales that draws thrill-seekers and skeptics alike to its shadowy depths. One of the most infamous incidents tied to the St. Augustine Lighthouse occurred during its construction in the early 1870s. Historical records recount the heartbreaking story of two young girls, Eliza and Mary Mallory, daughters of the lighthouse's first keeper, who met their demise in a horrific accident. While playing near the site, the sisters attempted to ride down a railcar loaded with construction materials. Tragically, the cart derailed, sending them plummeting to their deaths. Ever since, visitors and staff have reported bizarre encounters believed to be linked to the girls' restless spirits. Witnesses describe hearing childish giggles echoing through empty corridors, accompanied by the sound of running footsteps that vanish abruptly. Some claim to see shadowy figures resembling small children darting playfully through the grounds, only to disappear when approached. Another prominent figure in the lighthouse's haunted lore is believed to be Keeper William A. Harn, who served during the late 19th century. Known for his meticulous nature and dedication to duty, Harn reportedly grew increasingly reclusive toward the end of his tenure. Following his death in 1906, strange occurrences began to plague the lighthouse. Staff members reported seeing a tall, gaunt man dressed in period attire ascending the spiral staircase, clutching what appeared to be a lantern before vanishing into thin air. Others described feeling an oppressive weight pressing down on them as they worked, as though someone, or something, were watching their every move. One particularly chilling account involved a volunteer who swore she felt cold fingers brushing against her neck, followed by a whispered voice urging her to leave. Adding to the lighthouse's spectral allure is the mysterious figure known as the Lady in White. Described as a beautiful woman draped in flowing garments, her identity remains shrouded in mystery. Some speculate she may have been a grieving widow mourning the loss of a sailor husband, while others believe she could be Eliza Mallory herself, forever trapped in the moment of her untimely death. Visitors frequently report seeing her ethereal form gliding silently along the catwalk or standing at the base of the tower, her expression frozen in eternal sorrow. Others describe hearing faint humming emanating from empty rooms, as though she were singing softly to herself. Paranormal investigators exploring the St. Augustine Lighthouse have captured compelling evidence of its supernatural activity. Thermal cameras reveal cold spots concentrated near the spiral staircase and the keeper's quarters, where many of the tragedies unfolded. Audio recordings pick up fragmented phrases like, "Don't go," and "I'm scared," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the St. Augustine Lighthouse remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely strolls. For those brave enough to visit after dark, the promise of encountering Eliza, Keeper Harn, or the enigmatic lady in white adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the grounds, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past, or will they become another chapter in the Lighthouse's macabre legacy? The New London Ledge Light, a phantom keeper's eternal watch floating defiantly in the choppy waters of Long Island Sound, the New London Ledge Light stands as a lonely sentinel guarding the entrance to Connecticut's Thames River. Built in 1909, this distinctive red brick lighthouse differs from its coastal counterparts due to its unique location, perched atop a submerged ledge rather than solid ground. Accessible only by boat, the structure exudes an aura of isolation that amplifies its already eerie reputation. But what truly sets it apart are the chilling tales of Ernie, the phantom keeper whose spectral presence has haunted the lighthouse for over a century. Ernie's tragic story begins with his tenure as the lighthouse's final keeper during the early 20th century. Described as a solitary man prone to melancholy, Ernie reportedly struggled with the crushing loneliness of his post. Cut off from society, he spent years tending to the light, while battling inner demons. According to legend, his despair culminated in a grisly act of suicide when he hanged himself in the lantern room. Since then, his restless spirit has remained tethered to the lighthouse, continuing his duties as if bound by an unbreakable oath. Visitors and caretakers assigned to the New London Ledge Light frequently recount bizarre encounters attributed to Ernie's ghostly presence. Many describe hearing heavy footsteps climbing the spiral staircase, accompanied by the clinking of tools and the faint murmur of someone talking to themselves. Objects are known to move inexplicably, chairs shift positions, doors slam shut on their own, and lights flicker erratically despite no apparent cause. One particularly unnerving incident involved a Coast Guard crewman who swore he saw a man in oil-stained coveralls pacing anxiously near the lantern room, his face obscured by shadows. When approached, the figure vanished without explanation. Adding to the lighthouse's haunted allure is the phenomenon of Ernie's voice. Numerous reports describe disembodied whispers emanating from the walls, often repeating phrases like, "Stay away," or "Turn back." These eerie utterances seem to grow louder and more insistent the closer one ventures to the lantern room, creating an atmosphere of mounting dread. Some visitors claim to feel an icy draft pass through them, as though someone were walking close behind, while others describe being overcome by an overwhelming sense of sadness, as if the very air were saturated with grief. Paranormal investigators exploring the New London Ledge Light have documented numerous instances of unexplained phenomena. EMF detectors routinely spike in certain areas, particularly near the lantern room and the keeper's quarters. Thermal imaging cameras reveal significant temperature drops, especially around objects associated with Ernie's daily tasks, such as his toolbox and logbook. Audio recordings capture fragmented sentences uttered in tones of anger and despair, interspersed with anguished cries. One investigator captured a chilling photograph of a translucent figure standing in the doorway of the lantern room, its hands raised as if pleading for release. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the New London Ledge Light continues to attract curious souls eager to confront its spectral inhabitants. For many, visiting the site serves as both a pilgrimage and a reckoning, an opportunity to honor the lives lost and acknowledge the sacrifices made in pursuit of duty and survival. Whether you're drawn by the allure of its haunting beauty or the weight of its tragic legacy, the New London Ledge Light offers an unforgettable experience where the past refuses to fade quietly into oblivion. The Bodie Island Lighthouse, guardians of the graveyard of the Atlantic rising proudly along North Carolina's Outer Banks. The Bodie Island Lighthouse stands as a solemn guardian over one of the most treacherous stretches of coastline in the world, the graveyard of the Atlantic. First lit in 1872, this iconic black and white striped tower has guided mariners through perilous shoals and shifting sandbars for over a century. Yet, for all its noble purpose, the lighthouse bears witness to countless shipwrecks, drownings, and untold tragedies that have earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted sites on the East Coast. One of the most pervasive legends tied to the Bodie Island Lighthouse centers around the spirits of sailors lost at sea. Historical records indicate that hundreds of vessels met their doom within sight of the lighthouse, their crews swallowed by the unforgiving waves. Locals believe these unfortunate souls remain trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. Visitors exploring the site often report hearing faint cries echoing from the shoreline, accompanied by the sound of splintering wood and crashing surf. Some claim to see ghostly figures struggling in the water, their faces obscured by mist, while others describe an overwhelming sense of sorrow permeating the area. Another prominent figure in the lighthouse's haunted lore is believed to be Keeper James W. Simpson, who served during the late 19th century. Known for his unwavering dedication to duty, Simpson reportedly grew increasingly reclusive as the years passed. Following his death in 1903, strange occurrences began to plague the lighthouse. Staff members reported seeing a tall, gaunt man dressed in period attire pacing anxiously near the lantern room, muttering under his breath before vanishing without explanation. Others described feeling an icy draft pass through them, as though someone were walking close behind. Adding to the lighthouse's spectral allure is the mysterious figure known as the Lady in Black. Described as a veiled woman draped in mourning attire, her identity remains shrouded in mystery. Some speculate she may have been a grieving widow searching for her sailor husband, while others believe she could be the mother of a child lost to the sea. Visitors frequently report seeing her ethereal form gliding silently along the catwalk or standing at the base of the tower, her expression frozen in eternal sorrow. Others describe hearing faint sobbing carried by the wind, accompanied by the rustling of fabric as though she were moving invisibly among them. Paranormal investigators exploring the Bodie Island Lighthouse have captured compelling evidence of its supernatural activity. Thermal cameras reveal cold spots concentrated near the lantern room and the keeper's quarters, where many of the tragedies unfolded. Electromagnetic field, EMF, meters register unusual spikes, especially around objects associated with past disasters, such as the original Fresnel lens used during Simpson's tenure. Audio recordings pick up fragmented phrases like "help me" and "let me go," delivered in tones of sheer desperation. One particularly unsettling discovery came when a team member set up motion-activated cameras overnight, capturing footage of a translucent figure standing motionless at the base of the tower before vanishing without explanation. Despite, or perhaps because of, its haunted reputation, the Bodie Island Lighthouse remains a popular destination for tourists and locals alike. Its picturesque setting and rich history make it a favorite spot for photography and leisurely strolls. For those brave enough to visit after dark, the promise of encountering Keeper Simpson, the Lady in Black, or one of the countless other spirits said to linger adds an element of fascination and trepidation. Yet, as each new visitor steps onto the grounds, they must ask themselves, are they prepared to face the echoes of the past? Or will they become another chapter in the lighthouse's macabre legacy? As we traverse the haunted landscapes of the East Coast, from the windswept cliffs of Maine to the sandy shores of Florida, striking similarities emerge that transcend individual locations and histories. These patterns are not merely coincidental but reflect universal themes of human emotion, unresolved trauma, and the enduring power of memory. From the wailing cries of sailors lost at sea to the shadowy figures of keepers forever tending their eternal watch, these sites share a commonality that binds them together in a spectral sisterhood of sorrow and suspense. One recurring motif is the concept of unfinished business. Whether it's the victims of shipwrecks or the betrayed trust of keepers driven to despair, these spirits seem tethered to the earthly realm by grievances left unaddressed. Their presence manifests as restless energy, often communicated through auditory phenomena, cries, whispers, or disembodied voices, that serve as pleas for acknowledgement or closure. This theme resonates across cultures and belief systems, reflecting humanity's innate need to resolve conflict and seek peace, even in death. Another shared characteristic is the role of isolation in amplifying paranormal activity. Lighthouses, by their very nature, are remote structures designed to withstand the harshest conditions. Their keepers endured months of solitude, separated from society and dependent solely on themselves to maintain the beacon. This extreme isolation fostered mental strain, leading to breakdowns and, in some cases, tragic ends. The resulting hauntings often mirror the psychological turmoil, with apparitions exhibiting signs of distress or performing repetitive tasks as though trapped in a loop of despair. Lighting and sensory manipulation also feature prominently in these narratives. Flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and inexplicable odors are staples of ghostly encounters, designed to disorient and unsettle. Such phenomena strip away the comfort of familiarity, forcing visitors to confront the unknown. The use of mirrors, a recurring element in stories from various haunted lighthouses, adds another layer of psychological tension, as reflections distort perception and blur the boundary between self and other. This interplay of light and shadow becomes a tool wielded by unseen forces, creating moments of visceral terror that linger long after the initial shock subsides. Finally, the prevalence of historical context cannot be overstated. Each lighthouse's haunting is deeply rooted in its unique past, shaped by the socio-cultural milieu of its time. The brutal realities of maritime life embedded in the DNA of older structures contrast sharply with the glamorous yet tragic lives immortalized in urban legends. Yet both narratives tap into broader archetypes of ambition, betrayal, and mortality, ensuring their resonance with audiences regardless of personal experience. By drawing on these universal motifs, these haunted places transform from mere buildings into living repositories of collective memory, inviting us to peer into the abyss of our shared humanity. Thus, while each establishment boasts its own distinct flavor of fright, the underlying threads connecting them reveal a tapestry rich with meaning. These patterns remind us that the supernatural is not so much about the entities themselves but the stories they tell, the echoes of lives interrupted, passions extinguished, and truths obscured. As we continue to explore these haunted locales, we find ourselves grappling not only with the specters of the past but with the timeless questions they raise about life, death, and everything in between. The allure of haunted lighthouses. Why they captivate us. What is it about haunted lighthouses that grips our imaginations so profoundly? Beyond the creaking floorboards and flickering lights lies a deeper allure, one rooted in the psychology of fear and the human fascination with the unknown. These structures, by their very nature, are places of vulnerability. They are where we confront our mortality, stripped of autonomy and control, relying entirely on the expertise of others to guide us safely through treacherous waters. When these spaces become haunted, they amplify our primal fears, transforming familiar settings into arenas of existential dread. The combination of historical context, architectural design, and the lingering presence of past suffering creates a perfect storm of terror that resonates deeply within us. The core of this captivation is the concept of liminality, the state of being on the threshold between two worlds. Haunted lighthouses exist in this liminal space, bridging life and death, safety and danger, hope and despair. This inherent duality makes them fertile ground for supernatural narratives. Ghosts, as manifestations of unresolved trauma or unfinished business, embody the tension of being caught between states. They serve as reminders that the boundaries we construct, between life and afterlife, sanity and madness, are far more permeable than we'd like to believe. For many, visiting a haunted lighthouse feels like stepping into a twilight zone where the rules of reality no longer apply, igniting both curiosity and unease. Architecturally, haunted lighthouses contribute to this atmosphere of dread through their design. Towering structures perched atop cliffs or isolated islands create environments conducive to isolating individuals and heightening fear. Narrow spiral staircases, thick stone walls, and hidden alcoves evoke feelings of entrapment and uncertainty. Every corner becomes a potential threat, every shadow a possible harbinger of danger. This environmental manipulation taps into our instinctual fight or flight response, keeping us perpetually on edge. Cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping our fascination with haunted lighthouses. Media representations, from films like The Lighthouse to literature such as Edgar Allan Poe's The Lighthouse, have cemented the trope of the haunted lighthouse as a locus of horror. These portrayals often blend historical truths with fictional embellishments, creating a mythology that blurs fact and fiction. Audiences are drawn to these stories because they reflect societal anxieties about isolation, systemic injustice, and the fragility of the human mind. Haunted lighthouses become microcosms of larger fears: the loss of agency, the misuse of authority, and the haunting specter of mistakes made in the name of progress. Moreover, haunted lighthouses appeal to our desire for catharsis. Engaging with these tales allows us to process our own fears about mortality, injustice, and the flaws inherent in systems meant to protect us. By confronting ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena, we externalize internal anxieties, transforming abstract fears into tangible adversaries. This vicarious experience provides a safe outlet for exploring the darker aspects of human existence, offering both thrill and relief. It's no wonder that ghost tours and paranormal investigations of haunted lighthouses attract participants eager to test their courage against the unknown. Ultimately, the enduring allure of haunted lighthouses lies in their ability to mirror our deepest fears while challenging our understanding of reality. They remind us that the past is never truly buried, that pain and injustice leave indelible marks on both people and places. As we walk their haunted halls, we are forced to confront not only the spirits said to inhabit them but also the ghosts within ourselves, the regrets, doubts, and unanswered questions that linger long after the wounds have healed. In doing so, we find a strange comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our fears, that others have walked these same paths and emerged, shaken but alive, to tell their stories. As we bring this chilling journey through the haunted lighthouses of the East Coast to a close, one thing becomes abundantly clear: the spirits of the past refuse to be silenced. Each creaking floorboard, each whispered name, and each fleeting shadow serves as a testament to lives lived, lost, and lingering in the spaces we dare to call haunted. These stories are more than mere campfire tales. They are fragments of history, stitched together by human emotion, tragedy, and the relentless passage of time. They remind us that the line between the living and the dead is far thinner than we might believe, and that sometimes the most terrifying truths lie just beyond the veil. But why stop here? If these accounts have stirred something within you, a spark of curiosity, a shiver of excitement, I urge you to take the next step. Visit one of the haunted lighthouses featured in this episode. Walk the same halls where spirits are said to roam, climb the spiral staircases where keepers once tended their eternal watch, and let the unknown brush against your senses. Whether you're a skeptic seeking proof or a believer eager to commune with the other side, these forsaken sentinels offer an unparalleled opportunity to confront the mysteries that lie just beyond comprehension. There's nothing quite like experiencing the weight of decades-old despair firsthand, feeling the chill of a presence that defies explanation, or hearing the faint strains of voices from another time. And when you return, share your story. Did you feel the icy touch of a ghostly hand? Hear the faint tap of footsteps in an empty corridor? Or perhaps nothing happened at all, but isn't that silence just as intriguing? Your experiences add to the rich tapestry of lore surrounding these haunted lighthouses, ensuring their legacies endure for generations to come. Share your findings with fellow enthusiasts, document your journey, and keep the conversation alive. After all, every whisper contributes to the symphony of the supernatural. Until then, keep your lanterns lit and your courage steady. The spirits are waiting.